For nearly 2 weeks, China has been feeling the weight of the world as country after country criticizes its treatment of Tibet. Today, China fought back, starting in Tibet itself, where foreign journalists were taken on a carefully controlled tour of Lhasa, the site of the mid-March riots. Here in Canada, China's ambassador took sharp aim at the Dalai Lama and answered questions about the possibility of protests, even boycotts at the Beijing Games. Laurie Graham has the story.
They gathered in protest outside the Chinese consulate, Tibetan Canadians on a hunger strike, desperate to send a message to China.
We need the Chinese government to use restraint in using the forces on the Tibetan people inside of Tibet.
For weeks now, images like these have been broadcast around the world. Tibetan monks caught in a struggle with Chinese police. Images that have cast a shadow on China just months before the Olympic Games. Today, in a rare move, China's ambassador to Canada spoke out against the Dalai Lama, blaming him for Tibet's unrest and for tarnishing China's image.
The Dalai Lama has been telling lies to the world for decades. And, to make the Western public to believe what he says, whatever he says is truth, it's wrong.
The ambassador says China has actually made life better in Tibet.
Here, now in Tibet, you will see the change, and you will see what human right means and what human right is.
The politics are heating up just as athletes are gearing up. Tim Barrett is a race walker who says these days he's concentrating on more than just pace.
Obviously, it's becoming more of an issue day to day. And it's difficult because as an athlete, you're one voice. Even as a group of athletes, even say as a team of athletes, and is not going to make that big an impact on the world stage.
But this Canadian Olympic official says athletes are there to compete, not demonstrate. What about off the venue?
Off, they're certainly free to say what they want, but we would certainly advise them against engaging in public demonstrations.
Why?
Well, we think that this is something that is not that is frowned upon within China.
That doesn't matter to Anna Rice. Her sport is badminton, but at her core, she's an activist. She's doing her master's thesis on human rights. She's prepared to compete in China and protest.
I can't basically say in what capacity I would commit to something, but I definitely want to see what's going on and potentially get involved at varying degrees.
Besides, getting involved is far better for athletes than boycotting, says this expert.
Obviously, all the cameras of the world will be pointed at them. Whatever gestures they can have on this occasion would have a far greater impact than simply staying at home.
All of the Canadian athletes we've spoken to say they don't want to stay home, not with an opportunity to compete against the best in the world. But Tibetan activists say this is their opportunity as well. And they say they're still considering calling for an all-out boycott of the Olympics. Laurie Graham, CBC News, Toronto.